So I've just turned 36 just yesterday. And of course, I spent it indoors, didn't go anywhere. Just journaled, thought about myself, thought about the past, not much about the future, which is strange. But so I just thought, why don't I share my views with the school I used to work with in South Africa, doing mentorship for them. And just when I was about to record this video, I thought, why don't you just share it on the internet? There is a lot of advice on the internet. Most of it is just people who want to make money online. They either want to harvest your mailing list. They want you to anyway. Yeah. And I was thinking in terms of how can I best do this, and I thought to myself, okay, what if I just distilled maybe the 11 or 12 life lessons I would tell a 24-year-old self if I were to go back and advise them. And I choose 24 because this is the year when I exited varsity. So basically I entered real life. Well, before that, I was like studying and doing all these things. So this is why then it's 24. So because that's the year, but it can be anything. Maybe you a prize, you exited varsity in 20, maybe university, and it could be anything. But I just choose 24 because it aligned with my sort of trajectory, if that makes sense. And one of the things I thought about yesterday was every year, you and me and everyone will have a birthday. There is a day you were born, every year basically. But, and it's automatically assumed that you are a year older. You have grown just because of the number of years you have been on this planet. I don't know about other planets, but here on Earth, every year it assumes. And one of the things I've realized is that growth is not automatic. You don't grow automatically. When I was a young boy, I used to look up to certain people. I was like, wow, they are so matured. They have everything sorted out. I just thought because they grew older, they became more matured. And then I started growing. And over the course of the years that I've been able to look at my surroundings more closely, as an adult now, I have realized that actually the number of years you are here or you celebrate in whatever way do not automatically translate to you growing. If you want to grow, it's an active process. You have to seek growth. I'll tell you a story. There is a brother of mine, not direct brother, but like my mother, his mother, and this guy. When I was growing up, because you can see adults when they talk, he used to talk about the same mistakes, debts, things like that. I'm going out of debt this year. I need to sort out my life. I need to get married. He used to say all these things because he was a young man back then. And I grew up, and I think over the course of the years, even today, he still says the same things. He says them every year, but he chooses not to actively go towards them. So if I had to go back to my younger self, maybe like I'm 18, I will advise myself to seek growth actively instead of thinking that if I celebrate a birthday, like I did yesterday, I will automatically grow. There are a lot of people that are in my age, but in terms of their thinking and themselves, you can see that some of them are way matured. Some of them are par, maybe with me as well. Some are like, some of their behaviors are just maybe more of a 24-year-old or a 20-year-old. I know some 24-year-olds who are more matured than some of my, and I've just turned 36, by the way. So I go back to a year in time. How do you seek growth? How do you actively try to grow as a person? And this is maybe something I would have struggled with as well, because I lived in a small town. Well, it's not a small town, but a small country called South Africa. And I struggled to find mentors and people that had the same mentality as me. So what that means is, if I can't find mentors, I just happen not to have parents, because my parents died when I was like 11, whatever. Then how do you seek growth in those? Because you don't have mentorship at home or people who can look up to you. You look around your friends, they are not in the direction that you want to go. They don't think about growth. They don't think about anything. And then how do you do it? Then how do you? And I don't think I have an answer for you in that regard. But there are a couple of ways I think you can try, or that worked for me, is I started reading books. I read books mostly from people in the US for some reason. Even though, anyway, you can start read books on the internet of people that have the same mentality. And the more you read these books, the more that mentality will become something in you. They say it takes an average person 6 years to write a book. That's a lot of time. So you should ask, excuse me, if it's a book, for example, rather than a random YouTube video that someone pulled up in their bedroom on YouTube, book has more value because of the number of years it takes. So that's what I did, but I did it very late because of a friend who recommended a book to me. If I was 20, I was 18, I was 19, I looked around, I didn't see any mentors. I looked around, I didn't see people who will motivate me to be the person that I want to be. Then the easiest thing would be to try to read books on the internet, somewhere legally, obviously. I think that should cost you less than going on social media in terms of data. So that is number one. That is lesson to a young me out there. I wish I knew this earlier. If I had just done this earlier, I think my life would have gone much, 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 much better than it did. I'm not saying my life is bad, but there are certain aspects of my life that I wanted to, that I would wish were in a particular way. And one of the mistakes I did was I looked around me way too much, trying to see, because all I knew was around me. I mean, you can go on YouTube as well, sift through all those millionaires trying to tell you there's 10 steps, but they're making you watch their videos, and they want you to click their adverts, and they're selling you their online digital products. I mean, you can do this as well, but you have to do a lot of sifting to find the real value. With books, I think it's much simpler. That should be number one. That should be, if I knew this, and if you can implement this, I promise you, your life is going to change. You're going to grow much, 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 much quicker mentally. And that will allow you to be able to do the things you wish or you want to do with your life, rather than being stuck somewhere where you don't want to be. As an adult, I can tell you now, there are a lot of adults, a lot of people that are just stuck in the lives that they don't want to be. But they do it because there's bills, there's comforts, there's social status, there is everything. But you do not have to fall into that trap. Number two, I think this has taken me a while as well to learn, but there is no such thing as reality. This might sound crazy, but there is no such thing as one reality. There is your reality, there is my reality, there is someone else's reality. And if you can get that, I promise you, you would waste less energy than everyone you know, including me. Because like when I was growing up as well, I thought to myself, how could a person do this? But everyone can see this is clearly wrong. But more often than not, there's always been two sides in a story. Even though I was like, but there are people, there will always be opposition, because people see their reality. And everyone, unfortunately, has their own reality. So if you get worked up by people, just try to remind yourself they have a reality they've chosen, and it's okay if that reality they've chosen is different than the reality you see. You will save yourself a lot of energy throughout your life if you just realize this and live with it. One of the examples, I can't even say here, but just remember, this is 3rd October 2024. There is a country where girls are banned from attending school. There is a country where they've been on war for over 12 months now. Their reality is different than the other reality. There are other countries that are just fighting. there is a country that has military activities. Everyone's reality is the same. There is your friend who has just broken up with their girlfriend. Their world is falling apart. There's someone who's pregnant. Everyone. And we get shaped by the things that directly affect us more often than not. Human beings are not very good at putting themselves in the other people's shoes. So now, if you expect that people are going to see something, they're going to try to put themselves in other people's shoes. They're going to be objective. You are going to waste a lot of your adult energy, testosterone, everything that you should be channeling towards your growth, towards trying to see or figure that out. I'm telling you, I'm 36. I am telling you, everyone's reality is different. You just have to live with that and try to conserve your energy so you can take your energy and channel it to the things that will move the needle forward for you. Number 2. Number 3. I think I've been in relationships in my life before as well. And happiness is not the most important thing in life. Being happy is not the most important thing. Some people say, I just want to be happy in life. And I mean, that's not a bad thing to say. But sometimes happiness is not necessarily something that is good for you. For example, I am very introverted. I don't like going outside. Every time I have to, like today, I had to go to the shops. I have to rehearse. I take maybe 3 hours to go to the shops because there's some random person who's going to try to talk to me. But I have to go to the shops, whether I like it or not, because if I don't go to the shops, then there are implications to it. How am I going to get to work? What am I going to eat? If I just stay in this room, am I going to get vitamin D from the sun? So while it does not necessarily make me happy, I have to do it because otherwise I won't live. Second thing, like I grew up loving soccer. So basically, I think my ideal life where I'm happiest would be in front of a TV, PlayStation or Xbox, and just playing like I used to with my friends all day. I wouldn't go out. I wouldn't do anything because that is what makes. I wouldn't build relationships, which are good for you, by the way. I wouldn't do any of those things. And so many people in life you're going to meet, they will optimize their life towards happiness. But just realize that there are some things that might be more important than happiness sometimes. Like building relationships, having friends that is good for health, long term, eating vegetables. They might not make you happy, but they are good for you. So the most important things in life are the things that move the needle for you, your family, your loved ones, your surroundings forward. Sometimes those things are not necessarily going to be the things that make you as an individual happy. And you have to, the sooner you can learn that, the sooner your life will go towards the direction that you want to go. And the sooner you'll be able to spot people who put happiness above everything else, because there will come a time where they will have to sacrifice their own happiness. Maybe for you, maybe you are in a bad place. You did something that does not necessarily make them happy. And now they have to think about you rather than happiness. But because these people, they put happiness first, you're not going to be able to get any help from that. So you need to recognize these people. If you care about them, try to tell them that, listen, sometimes we can sacrifice our own happiness for the benefits of our community, for the benefits of our friends, for the benefits of whatever thing that makes us alive, healthy, thriving. And sometimes that comes at the expense of happiness. In fact, often that will come to an expense of happiness. Now, there is a lot of things, I guess. I guess this is number 4. We're going to go number 4. I'm trying not to lose count. Number 4. There is a lot of advice, I guess, for young people, including me when I was growing up or entering into adulthood. And some of it, most of it, at some point was follow your passion. Your passion, your passion. If you follow your passion, you will never work a day in your life. I don't know if it's still out there, but there is a book. In fact, I think the exact quotation is, follow your passion is bad advice. And the more I have grown over these years, the more I have realized how true that statement is. And I'm going to go back again. When I was growing up, the only thing I knew I liked was soccer. I have played soccer, football, even in America, since I was 8 years old. 7, since you could walk, that is the only sports you could do in most rural or remote areas, blah, 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 because all you need is a ball, two blocks, and something to shoot at, and then you're done. You don't need 11 players. It can be 1v1, 2v1, it could be anything. You can play soccer anywhere, basically. This is why it is the most universal sport in the world, because of the resources needed to play soccer are the absolute minimum. You don't even have to buy a soccer ball. You can just make a soccer ball with plastic. And I dreamt of myself in England, playing for one of my favorite teams. I won't say now because I just happen to be in England. But that was my dream. That was my passion. If I did that job, I would also not work a day in my life. Until, I think it was a Tuesday. I'm in high school. I'm playing for a under 15 or under 15 team, local team. I'm nowhere near the professional league in South Africa. I'm just the bottom of the bottom. Even in that under 15 team, I am not the best player in that team. So you can imagine. There is a guy, I think it's a Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday night, Cape Town. Second half, 16-year-old Khanyile enters the field. I'm like, this guy is my age. He's already in the PSL. I am here. I'm not the main man. I have maybe 7 divisions to get to the PSL. Makes his debut. And that is when my mindset started shifting now. Started shifting. I started thinking, maybe I might have to work a day in my life. Makes his debut. Guy plays on the PS for Ajax Cape Town. Everything changed for me that day. I think it was a Tuesday. Probably it was raining because it was Cape Town. But then, from then, I started thinking differently. Then I started thinking about academia. I started thinking, okay, I might just have to focus in school a bit more than I have been, because this might not necessarily. And I had a choice back then. I had a choice whether to say, I'm going all out. I'm going to be one in a million people that makes it to the professional league in South Africa. 1 in 15, at least 1 in 20 million, half the population. Or I try to balance out my life and not put all my eggs in one basket. Then from that, I start balancing. I start, paying a little bit more on academia. I play soccer, academia, and trying a few businesses to see. Looking at it now, I could not be happier at that decision, because if I'd followed my passion and forgot about everything else, I'm 19, I go on trial with the South African professional team, Golden Arrows. I remember, I didn't even know Mandla Ncikazi, but he was there that day. Go there. Plays, doesn't get picked. There's about 1,000 of people. I think we had 15 minutes max. And I remember going towards a slide takeout, thinking I've got the ball, and somehow, anyway, I don't get picked. Later that day, we stay around. Later that day, there's another chance. There's a second chance, lifeline. I think there's a position that is not having enough players. They go around asking, are there players playing in this position? I'm like, yes, I play in that position. I go back to second time now. Imagine, in one day, second time. And I get injured. We're going through the ball, both of us. My ankle, done for the day. But instead of lying down, I think I tried to carry on with essentially a broken ligament, I think. Still don't get picked. There are a lot of, I think there's one guy actually who also followed his passion. I don't know where he is now, but he's not in the PSL. He's not in the Premier League. I don't think he's in the first division. But he just put his everything. But the one thing about him as well, he was the best, I think, amongst us. He played in the third division. I almost played in the third division as well of South Africa. South African Soccer League. I almost played in Super League. I was in the B team once of a team that played in the Super League. But that was my passion. And today, I just happen to live next. I just happen to do research next to the Arsenal Stadium. Every time I walk past the Arsenal Stadium, I think of all those dreams and passions I had. And I think to myself, had I followed my passion and forgot about everything else, I wouldn't even be able to smell the Emirates Stadium. I don't know where I will be today. So I think my advice with regards to this, I would not say discard your passion and forget about it. But I think what I will say is follow your opportunities rather than your passion. If an opportunity comes that is going to advance your life, going to make you a better person, going to move the needle forward for you and your dreams. Because even though you like soccer, but you also have other dreams, like building a home for your family. If opportunities come, just be open enough. If opportunities come, wherever they come, be open enough to be able to follow your opportunities rather than your patience. Your patience will change as well as you grow older. Some do not change. Like my life for soccer will never change. Even if, I think I was talking to my friend a couple of years ago, he's a chartered accountant, one of the highest qualification. I was like, bro, if Kaiser Chiefs would come to you today and they were like, dude, listen, come play for us for one season. You have to quit your job for one season, not even 6 months. What will you do? And he was like, I will drop my resignation because, yeah, some patients loves for things they never change, which is why we go to stadiums until we are 60 years old because, but this is another way now you are exercising or being involved in your passions because you can't be inside and you support. But for you to support, usually you need a bit of a day job to buy the tickets. So that's why if you follow your opportunities, you might find yourself, like I smell the Emirates Stadium every day during my lunch break because of other opportunities, not necessarily because of my passion, which is the thing I wanted. I wish someone had told me this, but no one did. So I'm telling you, just follow your opportunities. Number 5. I recently had I mentor a lot of, well, not a lot, but I mentor a couple of people that are behind me. So these people are just doing like second year versus I start my mentorship relationship with them. They start in high school, whereby we help them to get to varsity. When they're in varsity, my door is always open because they know I'm one step ahead. So then what happens is, whenever they have problems, they come to me and then I give advice, listen to their problems, all sort of things mentors are supposed to do. Sometimes they just want someone to be there for them. And sometimes I think what we need to realize, or what I told this person is, everyone in your life, this is work, friends, family, everyone, they like you. They want you to succeed. But they also want the version of you that's best suits them. And this is very important. Because like with her as well, because I haven't said any, maybe I'll just give a bit of a short story on this. She works this part. She's studying at a university. I think she's second year now. She works part-time. So in the part-time gig, she gives money to her mother because she has enough money from her student finance, whatever. But that was starting to interfere with her schoolwork. So now she's thinking of quitting this part-time job. And obviously the mother is like, baby, you just have to think about this. And then she thinks about it. She still can't cope. I think she is in depression. She was in depression at some point. Like proper depression, like diagnosis, going to a hospital because she just could not cope with the demands of both roles. Now, but the job obviously is giving the mother the immediate benefits. You see, the university is not giving the mother the immediate benefits. So the mother is seeing all those short-term benefits vanish and forgetting about the long-term goals of this person. And it's not a bad thing, but that's what I told her. I told her it's not a bad thing, but at some point, because if you are continuing, you've been depressed for a very long time. You're going into chronic depression. At some point, it starts starting to affect your grades as well. So, her short-term gains are your long-term losses, because now you're losing out on the thing that matters most for you, which is your future, not a part-time job that you do on weekends. And you have to go through life, I think, in whichever relationship you form, whether it's your family, whether it's, you have to go through life thinking to yourself, everyone, they want what's best for you, but it would be not a bad thing. That's how they think. If it benefits them in some way. And this will help you a lot in trying to see people that may want more than what you can offer, and people that are always takers as well. Takers, they don't give anything back to you. But if you don't see that, you don't think about that, then you are going to find yourself, as you grow older, being very stretched in life and find yourself always under pressure and all of those things, because you don't realize that those around you, as much as they care about you, but they also care about themselves. So I told her that, listen, you need to sit down with the mother and tell her your long-term vision and tell her how her short-term benefits are costing your long-term vision, but in a diplomatic way. I don't know if they did it or not, but I'm certainly hoping that you are not in depression anymore. If you happen to watch in fact, you're going to watch the video, because sometimes the ones who love us the most are the ones who bring us more pain, not because they know, just because they want the best version of you that best serves them. I think this is some guy, bulky guy from the internet said something like this as well. Anyway, we're going to go number 6. I don't know how long I've been recording, but in terms of number 6, when you start earning as well, like I start earning, I'm 24, I start getting into a job, so you start seeing there are terms that you start seeing over and over and over again, and one of those terms is passive income. Passive income. And it's a term that people, I think maybe even people like close to me, have gone into debt, severe debt, because of just that term. When you start working, you are going to hear passive income. People will say, what is passive income? Is you making money while you are sleeping. There are a lot of things or products that people will sell to you under this premise. One of the most, I think, passive income people will say, especially people who have never owned a property, they will say, well, buying a flat is passive income because while you are sleeping, you have renters. It is not. It is, if you have owned property or any sort of, it's not passive. It's very, very, very much active. But you will know that until you own. And I live in this very humble flat by a very nice lady. And every time something breaks, I think to myself, oh my God, this month is not going to be passive to this lady because she has to replace this thing every month. If something breaks, I think like that, I'm like, oh my God, this is not going to be a passive month because she has to pay. I know someone will say, but she should have savings or insurance, whatever, but that also costs money as well. So, like, if she has to pay insurance, she like services, whatever, that is money. So that means it's no longer passive. She's not sleeping and getting my money. She actually has to spend money. And especially property, if you want your property to be good, in a good condition for a long time, you need to spend a bit on it, maintain. You need to do a lot of maintenance. But people on the internet will say owning a property is passive income, and they'll try to get your money in other passive income as well. Even like something simple like writing a book. I never knew this as well until an author was writing a book. You'd think writing a book is just writing a book and then putting it on the internet, Amazon store. No, no. It doesn't work like that. So this guy writes a book, and then the book is very successful. Hopefully, if you write a book as well, yours is going to be successful. But writes a book, and then he realizes that there are all these bootleg copies of his book. Like, he knows his book, but people just make copies and then they sell those books. So every time he sees a bootleg copy, he has to, I don't know, scan it, do a lot of things, submit to Amazon so Amazon can stop that sale, basically. But when it stops that one, another one pops up. Another one pops up. So it got to a point where he's like, I'm just tired. I just can't do this anymore. So then just let it be. And so even a book, writing a book is not, putting a website out there is not also, you can get hacked. You have to protect people's data. Ultimately, if people sell you passive income, just know that they want something from you. They also want the best version of you that best serves, that even if they are strangers. We're going to 7. We're going to 7. But first, I need to charge my camera. are back. We are back. We were on number 7. This is a lot of relationships fail because of what I'm going to talk about now as well. And that is, particularly, I think women in my life have a particular focus on this is right, this is wrong, this is right, this is wrong. So my number 7, and I've told some of them this as well, is life is not about right or wrong. Now this links actually to my different realities, I guess, but often in relationships in particular, there will be arguments. How I think about arguments is I come with my point of view based on my conclusion and my other half of thinking about this problem. You come with your point of view based on your thinking and your half around this problem. And when we combine these two, that's how I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking when you combine these two, we should get something that is better than both our thinking on this matter. Because then that will result in improved decision making. But what I found, especially particularly in my last relationship, we will debate something, but the person will be debating just so they are not wrong, or just so they have the last word, or just so they can get me to think in their point of view rather than trying to find the best solution for both of us going forward. And that created a lot of conflict. And there's a lot of people, I think, as you are growing up, who will not even understand what I am trying to say, because they will always fixate on you are right, I am wrong, you are wrong, you are right. They will never think about the importance of life. And the importance of life is, how do we move forward? So if I had to go back as well to my 20th, 24, 25, where I'm starting to live away from maybe like traditional family values, trying to forge an identity for myself that is independent of family. You know, all of those things you get taught as a child. I would be very wary of people who are always looking at any situation, whether it's right or wrong. They never think about progress. They just think, no, this is right, or this is wrong, this should not be happening. I would be very careful about those people, because I promise you, like I've said, we have different realities on this earth. So nothing will ever be black and white. There will always be areas in between. And not everything will be clear. It's important to get that. And not go out there, live a life thinking everything falls into the category of right and wrong. You will save yourself more trouble, more energy. You'll save yourself a lot of energy. And you'll try to build relationships that are actually based on strong foundations. If you avoid people who are always fixated on I am right, you are wrong, and every argument is not for the sake of the thing that you are arguing, but it's just for them to get one over you, you will not go anywhere. This message would be much, much, much more powerful if I was married. But if I'd focused on this, maybe my situation would be different. So I've just saved you, I don't know, a couple of years there. Actually, I've saved you a couple of years on a lot of things. On this reflection video, alone in my bedroom, it's 11:30 at night. We are 8. Number 8. When I was growing up as well, let's say in high school, there's something called peer pressure. Peer pressure was something we warned against, I think, especially in adolescent stage. There is a lot of teachings about peer pressure. In my mind, I thought if you grow up, you become a mature adult, you want peer pressure would not even be in your vocab, basically, because you're an adult. I was wrong. Couldn't be more wrong. Peer pressure will always be there. Even now, like here in London, I saw this girl once, and she was like, I'm gonna have a guy who doesn't drive. I'm like, what? Dude, I don't drive. But it's less, I think. When I was in South Africa, it's my first year. Go in there, first year, working. I remember there is a guy who's like, you only have one girlfriend. I've only ever seen you with one girlfriend. This guy also drove a very expensive car. In fact, a lot of my first year mates drove very nice cars. And that puts an immense pressure on me as well. I didn't know this back then because I was not as thoughtful as now. Even if you are 50, particularly like in schools, it happens in schools where teachers, you can just see the car. Health as well. Peer pressure will always be there. Actually, a friend of mine was talking about her sister-in-law who has, because she's female, has this nice kitchen. Oh, it's very nice kitchen. 6 months later, she went to get a quotation for a new kitchen. Turns out it's like £10,000 just for material. So that is on ice for now, at least. And she's married with a child. So get used to it. Peer pressure is one of those things like growth. You have to actively make it not affect you. You will not outgrow it. You just have to choose, have mechanisms, choose for it not to affects you because you can't outgrow peer pressure. Number 9. Most of us, at least me, or the people I've met, I think every position in life has disadvantages and advantages. Disadvantages and no matter where you are, where I am in relation to, you have advantages. Like, for example, if you are 20 years old, you have way more energy than me. It means if you can start doing some of the things for your future. If you start investing mine now on the S&P 500, I start investing now. By the time I'm 60, probably your money will be double mine. But I can probably put more on the S&P 500 than you. So every position in life, don't look at your situation and think, this is it for me. Just try to look at your situation and say, if there might be some positives. And one of the most earliest realization for me was, we were talking with this guy. He was a friend as well. I used to have a car, he didn't have a car, so he was like, we're talking about picking up girls. And he was like, it's easy for you because if you drive a car, you're just going to drive up to the girl, pick it up, and then go wherever to drop it off, and then you get a number. So that's it. I'm like, yeah, but you see, let's say I got to somehow I'm driving, I see this girl, I try to find a safe way to park, obviously, or turn around. I turn around, and then I go to her, I slow down, open my window, and the girl refuses. So now, what do? All of a sudden, I need to go and find another safe place to park, turn around, go facing the girl that just refused. I don't think there's a cooler way of doing that. And it's obvious that that guy got refused by that girl. But if I was walking, I just change the direction. People won't know whether I was rejected or not, or I just took her number, by just changing direction because I'm walking. And every situation in life that you are going to face as you transition into an independent person, you just have to try to find those advantages based on the situation, because for every disadvantage, there's an advantage, but it's your job to find that advantage. This is another thing I wish I had practiced early in my life, but no one taught me. No one set me down like this and taught me that. So, this is why